everyone. So here is a little bit of an overview of some basic definitions that we'll talk about in this book. So, what do we mean when we're talking about government or when we're talking about politics? So what we try to do as political scientists is kind of go beyond the popular view. So going beyond the discussion you might have about politics on Facebook or on Twitter, even going beyond analysis you might get from political commentary. So the kind of questions that we will ask if we want to, make sense of what's going on in government and politics, we'll ask, what do we observe? What kind of patterns do we see about politics? So think about observations of a pattern in politics. And then the next step is to think about why. So what kind of theory can you come up with about how the world works and how you might explain that pattern? So for example, you might have the observation that old people tend to vote for the Republican Party. So then you could have, a theory. Well, what is it that explains that? Is it something about the time period that they grew up? Is it something about being retired? Is it something about their income? Lots of different possible explanations. But that's kind of a snapshot of what political science does. So this whole introductory chapter is really just focusing on definitions. So, when we're talking about government and politics, what is it that we mean? So let's put American government in kind of this broader perspective of general definitions. So what is government? It is the institutions and procedures through which a land and its people are ruled. And this can be something very, very simple, just a small council that makes decisions, or it can be something very complex. It can be like our own system of American government that has separate branches of government, separate levels of government, lots of different specific parts of the government doing their own thing. So here's a way of making this a little bit more concrete. So imagine that everyone in this class is a farmer. So we have our own self-contained society, and we're all farmers. We're all equal in every respect. So we each own our own farms. We produce enough for our families. So nobody's really rich. Nobody's really poor. We all speak the same language. But one of us comes up with an idea one day of building an irrigation system. So this is going to change things. It is going to require us to put in some effort to build this thing. We are going to have to maybe decide where to put it. How do we make a decision on whether or not we go forward with this change in our community? So you can think of lots of different ways of making the decision. Will it require a majority? Will we just vote and go with what the majority says? Will we require everyone to agree? Will it be something in between just, a little more than half and everyone agreeing? What will we do with people who don't want to go along? If 99% of us say, yes, this is worth it, we're going to put in this work and build an irrigation system, and 1% say they don't want to do it, how do we handle that? So once you start thinking through, how do you make these collective decisions? How do you enforce whatever you agree upon? That's kind of an example of government.